All right. Hey, welcome everyone. It is a late night. I am off tomorrow, and you hear this wonderful sound. Listen closely to this. Listen. You can just put your ears up to your headphones, or put the headphones up to your ears. Here we go. Ready? That is the sound of Stella Rosa Black Cherry Wine, a very low alcohol grape wine, especially with natural black cherry flavors. Let's try this. Oh, that good. That good. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Anyways, I'm off tomorrow, so I'm having a little bit drink here. I just opened this, so all right. So let me just kind of just jump into this because impromptu stream. Before I do though, I am having my major stream tomorrow. It is going to be hopefully not a dumpster, at least not an uncontrolled dumpster fire. I have a lot to talk about tomorrow. I mean, a lot to go over tomorrow. There are people that probably will be joining for panel, but if not, that's not a big deal either. But it's going to be something that I have a lot of things to say about when it comes to Matt Dillahunty and the ACA. So tomorrow, set your notifications for the Non Sequitur show, 5 o'clock, maybe 5:30. It's going to be after Rez Rhetoric does his moderation of a debate with Bev and somebody else, I think named Ryan or something. I can imagine it go 2 hours because guess what? The earth is not flat. Debate over. But I told him I would try to hold off to do the show when he gets done with that moderation on his channel, and then he'll send everybody over to the Non Sequitur show. But if you have not yet, hit the notification. Do so because I'm telling you tomorrow is going to be interesting. I really think it's going to be interesting. So, oh my god, so good. With that said, let's dive into this tonight. I'm not going to show you the comments because you can go read them from my last video. I can just give you the gist of them, and if you believe me, great. If you don't, whatever. But a lot of people are trying to convince me that Matt Dillahunty has changed his position from 13 years ago. That 13 years ago, he held the belief there are no gods, that he was convinced God does not exist, that the total amount of gods in the universe are zero, that all gods presented to him and not presented to him, his words, are pretend. They're now trying to tell me that no, Matt no longer has that position. He's moved to an agnostic position, that he has no belief either way. Really? Yeah, I would have to hear that from Matt, which has never been something he's ever said. He's always has always said his position is that gods are imaginary. He believes there are no gods, but he doesn't really talk about it much because he wants a theist to call into the show and give their burden and things of that nature. Okay, fine, whatever. But if you're going to tell me that Matt Dillahunty has moved from the positive claim that God does not exist to I just don't believe and no longer have the positive claim, I'm going to need that from Matt, and that's not going to happen. I want to hear you guys' argument about what you think would make Matt Dillahunty become less atheist, right? I want to hear your arguments that Matt Dillahunty from 13 years ago, who said there are no gods, to I'm not saying there's no gods. I don't have a position on either way, which, by the way, is the agnostic position. So I am just blown away that there are actually people on my page telling me that Matt Dillahunty is now agnostic on the proposition rather than holding the atheist position there are no gods, because that's just nonsense. There's multiple videos of him on the atheist experience saying he holds the positive belief. He also has said that he finds that all gods are imaginary. He has a video with gods are pretend. I mean, if you're going to speak for Matt, at least represent Matt's position properly. And if I'm incorrect, if he's moved from positive position to an agnostic position, by all means, I will correct myself. And he says, yes, Steve, I no longer have a position either way. I'm in the same boat as you. We are both agnostics. Kumbaya. But I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. Anyways, let's see who's out there. Hello, everybody but Steve. Yeah, screw me. Hi, Lawrence. That was your sounds. No, that was not list smacking. That was literally me open a can. Right? Here, want to hear me drinking? Here. That's the sip of goodness. Yeah, what this is like, it is equivalent to 1.5 wine glasses. And what's the alcohol level? Like 4. It's like 3. It's really, really low. This is one serving. How come this doesn't have an alcohol? Oh, here we go. 5% by alcohol. That's pretty low. All right. Pipeline says this is a false dichotomy. What's a false dichotomy? I don't even know what you're referring to. What is a false dichotomy? Either Matt has moved his position or he has not. That's not a false dichotomy. That's an actual dichotomy. It is either the case that he has moved his position or he has not moved his position. There is a third option of what? Either you've moved from your position or you've not moved from your position. And what's a third possible option? Principle of charity here. Maybe it's like confidence in there's being no Santa. Like we know there's no Santa, but you're 100%. What does surety have to do with anything? I didn't ask anybody if they're sure. These are not questions whether you're saying, are you sure? What they're saying is, are you sure about your position? Sure, but that's not surety as in you are absolutely sure about something. Matter of fact, Matt makes it very clear. He's not absolutely convinced to the point where he cannot be, having his mind changed, and nobody should be. The only thing you'd be absolutely certain about, I think, are a priori knowledge and own self-existence. Not much else can be really justified to say you have absolute epistemic or what's called Cartesian certainty. But who cares? We're not asking what you're sure about, right? We're asking is, what are you convinced or not? That's it. Are you convinced Santa exists? No, I'm not convinced Santa exists. Are you convinced Santa doesn't exist? Yes, I am convinced Santa does not exist. Are you sure about it? Yeah, as long I can be reasonably sure about it, and I can argue I am sure and I have knowledge, but that's a specific, whatever. You don't have to argue surety. I don't care about whether you're sure of something or not. What I care about is you're convinced or not, right? And Piper said the third option. What is? I was after the different dichotomy you had. I don't know. I don't understand. He usually claims that while you cannot be sure no God exists, that certain gods have contradicting claims that don't exist. But that's not my point. He either claims there are no gods or he doesn't claim there are no gods. There is no middle ground there. If you ask him how many gods are there in the universe, he will answer 0. That's his position. And if he doesn't, then he's changed his position to agnostic. There is no other options. There is no other third option. Either you are convinced there are no gods, or you can be convinced, or you're not convinced there are no gods. That is a dichotomy, right? So is Matt Dillahunty convinced there are no gods? There is no other option. Oh, he said it numerous times. Yeah, he says, I have the positive belief, but I'm not asserting it as absolute. That's what he said. He also said that all gods are BS. He's also said, as a shirt, this is gods that pretend. That's his position. So let me ask you, Pipeline, do you think Matt Dillahunty is agnostic on the proposition that he holds no belief either way, that he's not convinced gods exist, but he's also not convinced there are no gods? Do you think that's his actual position? Because I want to hear arguments for that. Hey, Anna Frida, good morning to you. I think he's going to hashtag not all. I don't know what that even means. That's right. He said that before, that there are certain gods, but he is convinced to exist, which is true, right? That's fine. He can claim certainty to certain gods if he wants to. There's certain logical, impossible gods, sure, whatever. But the question is, are you convinced that we live in a godless universe? That's the question. Either you're convinced we live in a godless universe, or you're not convinced we live in a godless universe. Is anybody's argument that Matt is not convinced we live in a godless universe? Because I can assure you, he is convinced we live in a godless universe. He has said this numerous times. If not, then he holds the agnostic position, where he's not convinced either way. There is no third option there. Either you're convinced or you're not convinced. I think it's true the third option that that's irrelevant. There's no third option here, man. You're confused. Either you hold the position there are no gods, or you do not hold the position there are no gods. That is a direct logical contradiction. That is a dichotomy. There is no third option there. You either do or you don't, period. So which is it? Does he hold the position there are no gods, or he does not hold the position there are no gods? There is no third option. There is no false dichotomy. It's basic logic. You either believe there's a God or you don't believe there's a God. Are you saying there's a third option? What's the third option? So if you have believe P or not believe P, that's a logical contradiction. That's a dichotomy. What's the third option? If you believe God exists or you don't believe God exists, tell me what the third. No, not some gods. Either you believe there is, we're talking about global. Let's say the proposition, there is at least one God. You either believe there's at least one God or you don't believe there's one God. There's no false dichotomy. That's logic. I think you're confused here, Pipeline. That is literally a dichotomy. Believe P or not believe P. If P is the proposition that at least one God exists, you either believe it or you don't believe it. You're a theist or you're not theist. There is no other possible combination. If P is the proposition that at least one God exists, a theist will answer yes, one God exists, or at least one God exists. The non-theist or non-believer will say, I am not convinced there at least one God. That's called non-theism. That is a dichotomy. There are no other options, period. Yeah, that's just nonsense. You can't be agnostic on that particular dichotomy. Either you fall into one side or the other. There is no agnostic position between. There's no middle ground between those two. You either believe or you don't believe. Simple as that. It's a direct negation. That's a pretty, I don't know what that means, but yeah, that's a logical negation. So Pipeline, maybe I would recommend go learning a little bit about basic logic, man, because you don't understand what the logical dichotomy means. A logical dichotomy means there are no other options. You either believe or you don't believe. There are no other options. Theist, non-theist is a dichotomy. Yes. Theist, agnostic, atheist is a different category. Yes. Kawasa, you're 100% correct. Theist and non-theist are a dichotomy. There are no other options. It doesn't matter whether it says some. So what? Either you're a theist or you're not a theist. So what? You're a theist or you're not a theist. Pipeline, is he a theist or is he a non-theist? There's no other option. Pipeline, either you're a theist or you're not a theist. Either you believe there's a God or you don't believe there's a God. There is no other option. I don't know why that's so confusing. This is basic logic 101. Even Matt agrees with that. Oh, that is, yeah, it's a dichotomy. Yeah. By the way, do you want to join Milwaukee or anybody else? That's the link to join. My Pipeline, you're relevant. Who cares? We're not talking about some gods. We're talking about either he accepts as at least one God or he doesn't. There's a dichotomy there. Period. Here's the proposition: at least one God exists. Okay. Either you hold that proposition true or you do not. There are no other positions. Period. That's basic logic 101. 101. Either hold that position true or you don't hold the position true. Holding it not true doesn't mean you necessarily hold it as false. So there are three positions. You can hold it true, you can hold it false, you can have no position either way. You can also have the position you hold it true and false, but that's epistemically irrational. So there's four logical contradictions, or four logical positions. Three of them are rational. But either you hold Peter to be true or you don't. There's nothing dishonest to describe his position like that. It's logic. I'm sorry, you just, if the fact that you don't like logic, man, doesn't make a bit of difference to the fact that you either believe or you don't believe. And so he either believes there's a God or he doesn't believe there's a God. Correct? I mean, there's no other positions. That's why it's so confusing to people. Kawhi says, I'm pretty sure Matt's never been agnostic, be it local or global. What I really do believe, I don't believe either way. He says we're all lives in a sense. And that may be true, right? That might be true. But people coming to my page telling me that Matt no longer holds the position there are no gods. Yeah, BS. That's absolute BS. I'd put money on that. There's nothing dishonest way to describe it. This is basic logic. And if you keep calling me dishonest, Pipeline, I'm going to remove you. I can put up a lot of shit, but don't tell me that's dishonest when I'm not. I mean, this is fundamental basic logic, dude. Don't say it's dishonest. Either you accept something or you don't accept it. I really get sick of people using hyperbolic language to say it's something dishonest when it's, I mean, for example, Kawasa, do you hold the position there's a God? Either you do or you don't. At least one God. If that's the proposition, at least one God exists. Kawasa, do you hold the position that at least one God exists? Either you do or you do not. Right? So I want to hear arguments of people coming to my page telling me that Matt now has moved to the agnostic position. Kawhi says, I don't. Simple. There you go. Right. I don't either. Very good. I don't either. I don't believe there's a God. Yeah. So I don't know why it's so complicated. He takes a position on the show to get callers. That's true, Binge Thinker. You're absolutely right. I don't think he entertains the thought that there's possibly a God. And that might be true. I don't know about that. Whether he actually believes gods are possible or not is an entirely different subject, right? That is a very difficult argument to make as far as arguing there is no possibility of God. I would have to really, really see a solid argument for that. And I don't think he's ready to make that kind of argument, nor do I think he should. But he's never made that argument that I've seen, right? Lawrence says this is about agnostic atheist position, not about theist, not theist. Right. Well, yeah, if he has moved from, I mean, if people are saying that he has no position either way, if there's at least one God, then they are literally saying he's moved from the atheist positive epistemic status to an agnostic position, which is nonsense, right? Kawasa 20,001. Thank you, Kawasa. You're amazing, dude. Thank you, bud. He says, anyways, it's been a while, Steve. Who would have thought a day where Matt would become the hot topic again, leaving the ACA, huh? LOL. Yeah. Well, again, I hope you join us tomorrow, Kawasa and Lawrence, and it got a lot to talk about tomorrow with that. And it's funniest thing is, I'm gonna give you a little because you guys showed up tonight because I'm like watch or don't watch. But I'll give you guys showed up a little bit of a preview. I'm not even going to be bashing on Matt tomorrow, believe it or not. And also, just to throw it out there, Arden reached out to me, and I have a lot to say on what Arden DM'd me about too. Now, I do not show DMs; people know that. So I'm not going to be showing Arden's DMs, but I'm certainly going to be showing my response to her. Because she approached me quite sideways. She showed me no respect, although I showed her nothing but respect. And I think she does owe me an apology, but we'll know that's never going to happen. But I do want to discuss what she had brought up to me, because it's part of the show tomorrow about what we're going to be talking about. But I find it quite uneasy, to say the least, when somebody approaches me in a very sideways way that doesn't know me, that has never had any conversation with me, trying to tell me how to run my channel and who I kind of have on, and does so in a way that I find to be offensive. However, even in the light of that, I was still very respectful to her. I was willing to listen to her. I was willing to even have her on, but that she was having none of that. And again, I think it's very, very apropos how she responded to me being very polite to her, because I wasn't just automatically capitulating to her and her, whatever she was trying to convey to me, because she didn't really make an argument. So I think it's very critical that tomorrow is talked about, because that's the way of the ACA now. The ACA has gone a long time. Either you agree with them or you're done. And they are a corporate entity now. And in some regards, they kind of have to. They're a 501c3. So I kind of get that, but I'm not even faulting Matt for leaving the ACA. I'm surprised he didn't leave it sooner. But again, we're going to get into the details of that tomorrow on the Non Sequitur show. But again, I'm not going to be crapping on Matt for leaving the ACA. I think that he had reasons to, although I think that, again, there's enough blame to go around, obviously. Arden is a major bully. Yeah, well, she tried to bully me. Yeah, there's no question. Again, I can't show her DMs because that's just not how I operate, but I can show my responses and you can get a gist of what she was saying to me. But you can't, I was like, hey, look, I'm not part of the ACA. I'm not part of your little communities, your little woke shit. If you're going to address me, come at me like a person. Treat me like the respect you want to be treated with. And she absolutely did not treat me with respect. And again, I will be addressing that tomorrow, because I think it's very apropos, because this is how the woke community operates, and you can see that. You'll see tomorrow. I was very, very polite to her, and I said, look, I understand your concerns, kind of stuff. Tell me, this, and this, and if you want to be on, blah, blah. But it was none of that. It was basically just insulting me and blocking me. I don't play those kinds of juvenile games. If you're not of a responsible nature to be an adult to have a conversation, then just don't have those type of conversations with people. And so tomorrow, I want a very respectful dialogue. My mods will be ensuring that there are no bigots, no homophobes, no transphobes, no people coming to the chat to cause discord and hate, any of that. And we'll have none of that. Absolutely none of that. The Non Sequitur show is very strong pro, LGBTQ plus, but that doesn't mean you have to capitulate to every single person that's in those communities, because not all those people in those communities agree with each other. They just don't. And so there are discussions to be had, but unfortunately, they want to shut down those dialogues. And the non sequitur show is the antithesis of that. We have always stood by the principle: informed opinions are sacred, and that we will not be told who to have on and who we can't. However, I did take an advisement after talking to 2 other atheist people that I do respect, and I made a decision, which I'll talk about tomorrow. But the point being is, I do not appreciate people coming to me in this sideways manner. I just don't. But you'll see. You'll see tomorrow. I'm just giving you guys like a heads up what to expect tomorrow. A crybaby video. Yeah, I found that out, that pipeline. I definitely found that out. However, like I said, maybe she'll apologize. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Maybe she'll apologize after I read my tweets to her or my DMs to her. Because I'm not going to show you hers because I don't do that. But you'll see that I'm very, very, very polite and very responsive. And my philosophy tomorrow will be: anybody who wants to join, with few exceptions, I am not allowing certain people to join. But the people that want to have a rational, intelligent conversation about the topics can do so. I think personally, if somebody is not in the mindset to have the conversations, they shouldn't be having them. And they also shouldn't prevent others from having them. That's the problem. That's the problem. If you're not at a level to be respectful and have a dialogue, then don't have those dialogues. Just recuse yourself, but don't expect other people not to have those dialogues. Arden of Eden is Matt Dillahunty's girlfriend. Lawrence, I bully you all the time. Yes, but I like that. You can bully me anytime. Doesn't matter if you're a part of it. They will get YouTube to cancel your channel anyways. Well, that's not going to happen because, again, I'm being very respectful. It is about the conversation. It is not about the cancel culture. There's no violation of TOS. Matter of fact, if anything, I'm actually siding somewhat with Matt to some degree, but I want to go over the kerfuffles. I want to go over the history of the ACA with Atheism Plus, because there has been numerous kerfuffles going back a decade ago, which we'll get into on the show tomorrow. So I've been canceled so many times, it's ridiculous. Conversation equals attack equals violence. Yeah, I agree with that. That's what, I mean, I don't agree with it, but that's what they think, right? Who is she you're talking about? I'm a minute behind. Arden of Eden is Matt Dillahunty's girlfriend. So she's, for some reason, standing up for him, although she has no idea what I'm talking about tomorrow. She didn't ask me about the conversation tomorrow. She basically come into my DM sideways. And when I responded to her politely, I didn't even respond in kind. Usually I respond in kind, but I was like, no, I'll take the high ground and I'll respond very politely. She got very offensive and very, very mean-spirited. And then, of course, blocked me, which is fine. Anybody can block anybody they want. But it was clear that she had no intention of actually having a dialogue, which I thought to be rather disingenuous. If you're gonna approach somebody, at least hear them out. At least have a respectful dialogue. If you're not willing to have a respectful dialogue, don't reach out to somebody. They agree with each other until they come to power, and then they fire each other. SJWs are the ultimate Highlander. They're commuting one. Yeah, and I've seen that. Yeah, and again, I'm not pro social justice. I'm anti PC when it comes to a lot of stuff. But that doesn't mean you don't have respect for people. That doesn't mean you become a bigot or a homophobe or transphobe or a racist. It just means that the woke culture has problems because they do eat their own. They really do. It's just a matter of time. But you cannot hold other people to the same standards you have for your group. If you have a group that you guys all have the same kind of group think, okay, but I don't have that group think. I loathe group think. I hate people that sit there in echo chambers. I love when people try to point out things that I got wrong. In fact, somebody did tonight. Somebody actually said in my comment section, like, hey, Steve, did you mean this? I think you misspoke. And guess what? I misspoke. And I commented on the video and I pinned it. So there's a correction. So I appreciated the person giving me a correction because it was clearly that I did misspeak. I corrected it. That's how it should be. right? And so we all disagree on stuff. People should disagree on stuff. You don't want people to think exactly alike, because if your position's wrong and somebody never tells you you're wrong and they agree with you, then you're never going to have better thinking. You're never going to get positions right. You want disagreement. Certain things I believe should not have disagreement. This is true. And there's certain things on my channels I will not talk about. But I'll discuss that again tomorrow. I'm going to go in great detail about why I will not have certain people on my channel or have certain topics on my channel. But if you want to have them on your channel, who the hell am I to tell you no? No. I mean, I can't tell you who to have on your channel. That's ridiculous. But if you give me an argument, hey, I don't think you should have this person on your channel. Let me give you some reasons why. Okay, let's dialogue here. But it wasn't even that. It was just coming at me sideways. Oh, I heard you're going to have such and such. You're a piece of shit. Really? Okay, what? What the hell happened here? Especially when I got no beef with the person, you know? Yeah, they do definitely try to bully people. And look, don't come at me sideways. You're not going to get what you want. I'm not going to be bullied. I've been canceled so many times. It's absolutely ridiculous. What are the ACA going to do to me? You know, I don't care. I will speak my mind, and especially on the Non Sequitur show, it has a fraction of the audience, but the audience it does have, they loathe groupthink. They loathe people having echo chambers. So it may not be a big audience, but it is a strong core audience, I think. And I think a lot of people appreciate the fact that I am not going to be told what to do, and I will never tell anybody else who they can and cannot have on their channels. I might explain the reasoning why I wouldn't recommend it. There are certain people that I think you should never be given a platform, but if they do, I have the decision to watch or not to watch, right? Period. If you want to have Richard Spencer on, knock yourself out. Would I ever have him on? No. Would I watch anything with him on it? Probably not. Unless, of course, you know, he's getting his ass handed to him, then I might do it for entertainment purposes, right? But I don't particularly like having conversations dealing with racism, overt racists coming on and just spewing racist things. I hate that. I don't like those kind of conversations. If you're going to have those dialogues, though, and expose racist for racist comments, that's a different story. But platforming racist simply to give them a platform to spew their hate, I can't support that. And I'm not saying channels do that, right? I'm not at all saying that. But I'm just saying if a channel was to do that, then you could say, look, I don't think that you should be supporting this person, and then go from there, right? And I don't watch channels that will support racist. Does it make sense? And doesn't mean they can't have them on. People I know, like, for example, like Modern Debate has Richard Spencer on, I think, right? Go for it. I have no issue with that, because I know he's not going to support their positions. And if he can expose racism and show people the complete visceral hatred that these people have and how wrong they are, okay, you know, go for it. If you have the skill set to do that, or somebody has a skill set to talk to one of the racists about that, then go for it. Do it. You do you. It's just me personally. I don't like having those conversations because they are so loathsome to me, right? And I'm just using that as an example, right? It doesn't even have to be necessarily racist. It could be any kind of bigot, any kind of homophobe. You know, if some people are like for example, like Ken Hovind or Matt Powell's of the world or Steven Anderson's of the world are out there, you know, preaching that the government should kill gay people, I find that to be morally detestable beyond measure. I think those people just are sick. They're mentally sick. But if you want to give them a platform to spew that and then push back on it, you do you. But if you give them a platform literally just to spew their bullshit and support it, that's an entirely different dialogue, right? That's a different subject altogether. Those channels I will never support. And I hope people are going to understand the difference. And again, we'll be going into this in more detail tomorrow. Lauren says, I agree with the vast majority of the causes that SJW support. The SJWC you see on the internet tend to be a huge misrepresentation of the crowd overall. And you might be right. Look, I think that most people will agree with the core things that generally the woke or the SJWs would support. The core values, right? The equal rights, marriage for gay people, abortion rights, all this other stuff. I think most people in the center are going to support those things. But you cannot do it by legislation. You cannot do it by force. And that's the problem. It's either you agree with us or we cancel you. That's never worked out well. That's what I disagree with, the tactics they use. That's what I disagree with. If they want to say, we don't agree with you, and let's explain why. Let's have a dialogue. Great. Or even more, I don't agree with you, and I just don't want to talk about it. Okay, that's fine too. But you cannot say I don't agree with you and then try to vilify the person, which seems to be the case. They will attack you personally and vilify you as a person merely because you do not have the exact same position someone else does. And I find that to be morally detestable, because even in the woke community, they don't agree. And why would they? Why? It would be absurd to think they have one homogenous group. They are an echo chamber, but even with groupthink, there's still diversity. There could be people that think this is insulting to me, but other people might be like, it's not that insulting, or we don't take it that way. There's different degrees that people will respond to things. And they want everybody to respond the same way and say, oh, this is the maximum egregiousness you should meet this with. You should be maximally offended. It's always bad. It's always be maximally offended. And that's something that I've always just didn't agree with the SJWs with. You can't do it by violence and pushing for racial supremacy in the name of equality. Well, of course. Yeah. First of all, I mean, I think anybody who thinks there's even such a thing as racial supremacists are just wrong by fiat. No race is any better than any others. SJWs forcing segregation in schools and saying, again, they've gone to the extreme, right? There are actually people out there. I mean, you guys remember on the Non Sequitur show, I had two people come on one time and it went south near the very end real fast because there was an ethno-state person and a white supremacist, and they actually ended up agreeing with each other about segregation. I'm like, no. I don't hold that position at all. And I think there should be pushback on that, right? But they wanted the same things, but for different reasons, right? So that was odd. Quest says they also tend to confuse problems of social scale and then try to pin accountability on the individual. Not good. Yeah. These are really complicated topics that these subject matters deal with. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people that, in my opinion, are not at the level to have those dialogues. They do so reactionary. They do so viscerally. They do so with emotions. And they're not looking at the actual core issues. And I don't like to have those conversations. I don't have those conversations. I try to be objective. I try to look at the facts. I try to talk about difficult topics on an intellectual level and talk about difficult topics on a non-visceral level. That's not saying that we don't have our own personal things that we find to be so morally egregious that we're not going to talk about. No, like I said, I'm Jewish. I'm not going to have a Holocaust denier on my channel. I can't see any reason why I would ever have a Holocaust denier on my channel. There's just somebody have to really give me a good reason, because there's nothing of any value to have them on. There's just nothing they could say that would be of value, because if people haven't realized by now that they're sick people, there's nothing that needs to be shown from them. There's to call them out. I just don't see it. Right? I think it's just to each his own on that, though. But if somebody else wants to have a Holocaust denier on to expose them as being the idiots they are, do you on your channel. You get to do. That's the beauty of having your own platform. You can decide who you want to have on or not. The ones that know personally acknowledge the shitty tactics. Well, let me ask you this, Lawrence. Jimmy Snow is the king of shitty tactics. He has weaponized his following for woke many times. His followers don't recognize that. Now, some have, and they left. And I just had somebody on my comment section today, matter of fact, said, hey, the open letter I had toward Jimmy, they said they only wish that letter had included some of the things that Jimmy had done about with his channel, as far as like being inappropriate to people on his channel. And I'm like, but this was before then, right? I didn't know how bad Jimmy was. It wasn't until Jimmy really shat on Rachel Oates, which I believe was unforgivable, that people started recognizing that Jimmy Snow is not an ethical person. I recognized that when he sided with Kyle and he lied about that with his audience. But I couldn't expect other people to recognize that as quickly as I did, and other people who were involved in that. But when he started just crapping on Rachel Oates, yeah, I'm sorry, but that was BS. Yeah. I love the black guy that befriended a bunch of Klansmen and could deconvert him. Yeah, Daryl Davis, he's infamous for that. Or not infamous, he's famous for that. Yeah, a great tactic. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, he would be an amazing guest, right? But that's wonderful. I have no issue with that. But that's his choice to do that, right? Me, I don't think I could befriend a bunch of Klansmen just to deconvert them. I don't have the skill set to do it. I don't have the fortitude to do it. It makes me sick to be around somebody who like that, Klansmen people. But if Daryl Davis has the strength to do that, all you can do is applaud him for it and recognize how amazing that is. Because not everybody has the ability to do that. I know I certainly don't. I just would be too sickened by it. Pipeline says to Kwasa, because merely all of them are coming from a violent religion and really just changing one in for another. And they do that. Just by leaving religion doesn't mean you give up some of your psychological states. And I find a lot of people who have left religion still has the same religiosity they always had. They have the same, either think like we do, or we're going to condemn you. In this case, they're not condemning you to hell, but they're going to condemn you to other things. It is the same exact mindset. And the ACA is wroth with that. Same with the Atheist Republic. Same with American Atheists. They're all groupthink. They're all groupthink. The only one I have any respect for is Atheists for Liberty right now, because even though I do have, some issue about the being atheist, but whatever, they do exactly what they set out to do. They're a secular organization that wants to have separation of church and state. They have prayer not in school, to have creationism not in school, things of that nature. I support those things wholeheartedly. But that's not really about atheism, though, right? But it's related. I get it, right? Because an atheist would want to be separation of church and state. An atheist would not want prayer in school. So I get there's definitely overlap there. No big deal about that. But at least they're upfront about it. The other atheist organizations, all they are secular humanists now to an extreme where they want everybody with the same woke ideology. And when we talk about the kerfuffles tomorrow, I want people to remember what happened in the Facebook groups for the ACA, how they treated people. You dare say anything, they removed you. I know, I was one of them. That's not having open discussions. And we'll talk about the free thought blogs too, and what happened there. That's some amazing stuff. I find that generally when people use the term free thought, they mean groupthink. It's just the way it is. Pipe says, I'm still waiting for the apology from Shannon Q and all the woke holders for taking Kyle's side. I have said Shannon Q apologized to me in private. I don't expect her to do a public one. It was good enough for me. And I have no ill will toward her whatsoever. I understood her position. And at least she was like the only one that at least bothered to at least apologize to me. It wasn't private, like I said, but none of the other ones did, and none of the other ones will. And that I find to be detestable. And that's one of the reasons why tomorrow I'm going to go into it, because I explained this to Arden. And it was really odd because she wanted me to listen to her grievances, but she certainly wasn't listening to mine. And there has to be some kind of reciprocity there. There has to be some kind of, look, if you want me to respect your positions, respect mine as well, and let's discuss them. But I couldn't even get that. It was just one-sided nonsense. But yeah, do you think Godless Engineer will ever apologize? No, God, no. Jimmy Snow especially. Jimmy Snow knew Kyle was full of shit. He absolutely knew it. That's why I wrote him the open letter and said, hey, look, this is going to follow you because you are doing some shady shit and you're lying to people about this. And when other people asked him about it, what did he do? He blocked them. We remember. Don't worry. We remember. We do remember. Aqua says, didn't Snow audio simply get changed out once? Yeah, he's changed his audience a few times. I seem to remember his old fans just left him and his current new fans are woke fans. Yes. Yeah. After the whole Rachel Oates thing with, was it Trisha Paytas? I think it was Trisha Paytas, wasn't it? But, no, it wasn't Trisha Paytas. It was Gabby Hayes. It was Gabby Hayes. That's what it was. The way he treated Rachel was abysmal. absolutely abysmal. And he wants the woke audience. He wants the far left. That's not the audience I cater to. I don't cater to any audience for that matter, but I certainly do not want Jimmy Snow's audience because they're just as delusional as he is. And just as dishonest as he is, I'm in my opinion. Because it is groupthink. It's one big hive mind. And I loathe hive minds. I want to be challenged. I want people to have different positions. I just want them to do it honestly. But somebody comes after me and they say I'm dishonest, I'm going to give it 1 or 2 opportunities to show, but after that, I'm going to put a kibosh on that. Because you tell me I'm dishonest, I want to have reasons for it. And oh my God, how many people have counseled me saying Steve's dishonest, yet every single thing they come up with is bullshit. Every single fucking thing they come up with is bullshit. Trent says, yeah, the groupthink appears in places that are good, but it's hard to separate that and again, any that good in any way people realize it. I don't know what you mean by that. I mean, look, I loathe groupthink when people say believe like us or you're just wrong by fiat. There's only certain extreme positions where I think you're wrong by fiat, right? And those positions I don't talk about because I think there's no dialogue to be had on them. And if I do talk about them, is to expose the absurdity of them. Like, for example, flat Earth. We all know flat Earth is BS. We all know the Earth is not flat. So they say, why do you have flat Earthers on? Well, 1 is entertainment, but 2, just show people how wrong they really are, right? There are reasons why we have flat Earthers on. It's not to entertain them. It's to entertain us. And it's to say, look, these people are just stupid. They're wrong. There's no debate to be had here. Does anybody think that when they have a flat Earth debate that we're actually debating flat Earth? Like, no, of course not. You want to have debate? Debate could be on something like gun control. Debate could be on something maybe even like abortion rights to some degree. Debates are things that are subjective in nature. You cannot debate objective facts, in my opinion, at least not reasonably. It is objectively the case that it's not flat. There is no debate to be had on that. Now, if you want to debate whether the age of the Earth is 4.5 billion years or 4.3 billion years, okay, debate that. Why? Because there's a margin of error of 200 million years. Sure, knock yourself out. Why? Because there's some ambiguity there. There's some leeway there. But if you want to debate the Earth is 6,000 years old, to me, there's no debate, right? There's no objective to the case. The Earth is not 6,000 years old, period. But we still talk about those things. But if somebody says, hey, Steve, why do you have young Earth creationists on? Well, I like to talk about that particular topic, even though I'm not debating it, Yeah, she did apologize privately. And we never spoke on it since. And like I said, I have not, nobody's have you ever heard me say anything negative about Shannon since then? Anybody? No, you have not. No, none of you have. I'll shit on Goddess Engineer to the day I die, probably. I'll shit on Jimmy Snow until even after I die. I'll come back as a ghost to haunt that POS. I'll shit on Kyle. I'll shit on who was the other one? Oh yeah, well, of course, Katie Joy. Yeah, I'll shit on any of them because they're just horrible human beings. They're nasty freaking people. And they were wrong. And they're blatantly wrong. And they lied to people about it. And they tried to do some shady shit. And I will always call them out for it. Shannon never did that though. I think she was misled. And like I said, I accept her apology. That's why you've never heard me say anything negative about Shannon. Big respect for Shannon. I will criticize her for having shows with Jimmy Snow. I think that's a fair criticism. But that's neither here nor there, right? I think that anybody that has shows with Jimmy really needs to think their core values, honestly. But that's to anybody. That's ubiquitous. That's not directed directly to her. That's directed to anyone who does streaming with Jimmy. I think needs to rethink things. But whatever. If Earth isn't flat, why are shows flat and not curved? I don't know. It's a good question. Shoes. Oh, shoes not. Oh, yeah. Maybe shoes should be curved, right? It would fit better. I don't watch her on the Atheist Commercials of Austin. No, I don't. I don't watch Shannon. I don't know her positions, so I have no idea. All I'm going by is the last thing that I've talked to Shannon about. That's it. That's all I can go by. Yeah, well, like I said, it was private, but she in her own way she apologized. Look, only I can accept an apology or not if it's directed to me. I accepted it. I moved on, and I have not said anything about it since to her. That's the way it should be. That is what an adult does. But unfortunately, in the woke community, you can apologize to the day you die, and it still won't be good enough because people don't accept their apologies at all. And in fact, they even make it worse sometimes. Apologies, but for the average person, an apology should be, "I apologize." The gracious person says, "I accept," and you move the fuck on. That's how rational people have dialogues. But in the woke community, that's not how it is, But like I said, we'll see what happens tomorrow after you guys see my conversation with Arden. Let me know I want to know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think, because again, I was being polite as can be, and I think she does owe me an apology, which I'll never get. But if you don't think she owes me an apology, tell me tomorrow, and I'll dialogue on it. I'll be like, okay, why don't you think she owes me an apology? Okay, fine, whatever. It's not like a hill I'm going to die on whether she owes me an apology or not, but it's certainly, if you think that I was nothing but polite, I still want to know why, because I certainly was. I certainly was. Yeah, no, and that's what the woke crowd is unforgiving. They eat their own. They don't know how to accept a gracious apology, and they don't also know how to be civil with each other. And a couple of the videos I'll be talking about tomorrow, even though I'm not going to be playing them, they're in the video description. One of them has to do with when Brenda called in to, I think it was the Atheist Experience, when Jamie Boone and Matt Dillahunty were hosting. And I think this was back when Jamie Boone was the president of the ACA, who I have nothing ill will toward Jamie Boone whatsoever. I've always been favorable with Jamie Boone. Got along with him. No, I have nothing negative to say about Jamie Boone. Okay. And Brenda, came on the show the other day, and we had a great little discussion. Brenda's been around a very, very long time, but the conversation Brenda had with them was interesting. Brenda was making, her points, which some of them were valid. She was expressing her views, very coherent, very articulate, very poignant from her perspective, which she had every right to do so. Matt was taking them on board, giving some pushback respectfully. Jamie was having a coronary because he's like, just to let you know, people, Matt Dillahunty does not speak for the ACA. Yeah, we got that a few times. And I think he was like having a meltdown, thinking, oh my God, Matt's going to say something horrific and we're going to have another kerfluffle. But he didn't. But it was a respectful dialogue. Brenda was civil. Matt was civil. They didn't fully agree upon things, but they both got their points out. That's how it should be. That's how adults have conversations. But you watch other people having conversations of a similar nature, and it's visceral. And that's what I loathe. So anyways, all right, that's enough of my little rant there. What do you guys think? But again, going back to the original thing, I still think I want to have somebody convince me that Matt's no longer a person who holds there are no gods. I mean, I want somebody to be argumentative to me that Matt Dillahunty is not convinced there are no gods. I want to hear that argument. Does anybody think that? Anybody? And I'm gonna finish my wine here. My 1.5 glasses of wine. I'm such a lightweight. How do I get a buzz off this already? Cano? How do I get a buzz off this already? Huh? How do I have a buzz off this already? You don't? I do. Oh. You're a lightweight. I am such a lightweight. I swear to God, I don't drink that. Yeah. I'm not a fan of alcohol any longer, man. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of alcohol. I drink only 4 times a month. You drink 4? I don't even get lit like that. You drink 4 times a month. I drink 4 times a year at most. I drank on my birthday, which. And when we was at I drank at Applebee's. Yes. Okay, and then I had one at 2 at Neil's. Okay, so that's 4. This is okay. My 5th this time. About 5th. Yeah. So sorry, me and my roommate are having dialogue. So let's see here. I think that's what he would say. What's that? I think Matt Dillahunty would say he's convinced there are no gods. But I mean, he can add on all these caveats. Well, if you show me a god, I could be convinced. Or I'm not saying absolutely there's no gods. I'm not saying they're not possible. Those are all other caveats which are relevant to the main point. Either you're convinced there are no gods or you're not. Right. You're the worst Hawaiian ever. Gets down the taste of alcohol or fish. I love fish. Oh, dude, I will never give up my fish. I love trout. I love bass. I love salmon. I love tilapia, which is a cheap fish, but it's still good. Tilapia is good. I love fish. Yeah, I could be a pescatarian. Nah, I like meat too. But yeah, I'm just not a fan of alcohol. I don't know what it is. I think I just outgrew it. Halibut's amazing. Halibut though, I used to go fishing off the coast. Halibut has to be, I believe it's 2 feet minimum, 24 inches in order to be something you can take with you. If you catch halibut and it's not at least 24 inches, you got to throw it back. So, and they will fine you on that. But look that up. Look that up. I'm too tired to Google, but I think the minimum length for halibut ocean fishing is 24 inches. You know what? I got Alexa's here. Alexa, what's the minimum for halibut to catch fishing?
From SeattlePI.com, the minimum size limit for both recreationally and commercially caught halibut is 22 inches.
22 inches. Okay, I was close. That's not bad. I said 24 inches. It was 22 inches. So I was only 2 inches off. What's 2 inches? Cano, don't look at me like that. No, stop. That's not funny. All right. Yeah, that's the case with a lot of fish. Because again, it's breeding conditions, right? You want to make sure that they're adult. You want to make sure they probably already bred. You don't want to overfish. And so, yeah, I am all for game and wildlife conservation. I'm all for catch and release for certain areas, but I'm also for catching and not releasing if you're allowed to do it. And you take up to your maximum. And I've caught my maximum and I'm done. Certain fish have no maximums, however, though. Any kind of like most of the cases when you have like carp or you have invasive fish, there is no limit because they're just bad fish. And by the way, I don't know if you ever tried carp. Carp is not good eats. I can tell you right now from experience, many times I've tried to say, okay, here's a carp. I'll try to cook it up, because I cook up my fish after I literally catch them and then I cook it. I'm like, okay, let's try this carp. It's bony. It's nasty. Don't do it. Don't do it. I can tell you right now, I've never had a single carp that was of edible quality. Nothing. Yeah. I love to fish though. All right. Does anyone want to join before I end this? I just wanted a quick hangout to convince me that Matt's changed the position, and I don't think anybody has. I don't think anybody's tried. Carp is diced and battered. No, maybe. I mean, but again, not good eats. Not good eats. The best fish I ever had in my life, though, was diced and battered. And that was off the coast of Thailand. There's these little charter boats you can get off the coast of Thailand, and they give you these little grunions or whatever, and you fish, and then the mama son on the boat will cook up that fish and batter it and just absolutely delicious. The only thing, like I said, you got to make sure the fish is well cooked for parasitic reasons. So I'd love to catch lake fish and ocean fish, but you'd really, really, really have to make sure that fish is cooked properly. And if you cook it properly, you're safe, right? There might be some toxins that you can't cook out, like mercury or things of that nature. But as far as the parasites, anything over like 175 degrees will pretty much kill any parasite for the most part. Dark meat for like chicken is 175 degrees. White meat is generally 165, but I cook things to a very high internal temperature, especially when I'm out. It has to be cooked all the way through because you do not want a parasite from fish. Hereticals, hey, there's a canceled atheist for you right there. You know. Tom says, "Oh, I have to rewatch this." So Matt changed his position. Yes, no, maybe. I'm curious. Well, probably he didn't. Yeah, I don't think that he did. Nobody's convinced me. But I had literally, Tom, I have people coming to my webpage or my videos telling me, "Nope, Matt's changed his position from 12 years ago or 13 years ago or a decade ago. He no longer holds the position there are no gods." Really? Matt's agnostic now? Stop it. That's so. Basically, Chris, the too long didn't read version was people on my last video were trying to convince me that I was misrepresenting Matt Dillahunty in his position, even though on numerous videos he has said he holds the positive belief there are no gods. He holds the belief that all gods are BS. He holds the belief that gods are pretend. These are his words. He's also said that he's not claiming that as an absolute fact, absolute. He's not saying it's not possible. Those are all fine caveats. But his position is he is convinced there are no gods, that God does not exist, that the universe is godless. It is devoid of gods. It is without gods. That is his position. Whether he discusses it or not, that's a different story because, he might just want to have theists call up. But his actual position is he is convinced the universe is devoid of all gods. And people are trying to convince me that's no longer his position. Hi, Lissy Lou. How are you? And I'm like, really? Do you have evidence of this bizarre claim? I have evidence. Matt has said numerous times he holds the position there are no gods. You're telling me he's changed his position. Okay, what is your evidence for this? And guess what, Chris? Guess how many people have shown me evidence he has changed my position? You want to take a number guess? You want to guess? I'll give you a hint. Okay, I'll give you a hint. It's a number that's less than 1, but greater than -1. Matter of fact, it's equidistant from 1 and -1. Can you guess what that number is? So, you always misrepresent Matt's position. It's basically a meme now. Just kidding. Hope you're well. And thank you, my friend. Tom, here's to you, man. Again, I'm off tomorrow. I'm preparing for a cluster tomorrow. Even though, I don't want tomorrow to be a unregulated dumpster fire. And I do not want anybody to have that take away from that. It is going to be a civil dialogue. It is going to be a respectful dialogue. And it's going to be about the kerfuffles the AC has had with Matt Dillahunty and vice versa. And again, I'm not going to be trashing on Matt that much. But no more than anything else. It's not for that. I trash on Matt for 2 things. One, I think his philosophy is ridiculous sometimes, and he tries to be coy about his philosophy sometimes. And he certainly can't refute my paper. He's always asking for like evidence of stuff. I gave him evidence of my paper, but he can't refute it. And I think that his siding with Kyle and saying that Kyle's ex-boyfriend being a drunk ex was just beyond the pale. And Ben is a great guy. And for him to crap on Ben, not knowing him, saying that the testimony, the case we've evolved around the testimony of a drunk ex was way beyond the pale. And I think he should apologize to Ben for that. He doesn't necessarily have to apologize to me. He should. But I definitely he should apologize to Ben. That was completely rude of him to say that about Ben. And Ben's an amazing guy. Yes, good. Yes, 0 people have actually shown me any evidence that Matt has changed his position. But they say I'm wrong, I'm being dishonest, I'm disingenuous, I'm misrepresenting his position. And yet when I ask for evidence, I get fuck all. This is what I'm saying. They are a cult when it comes to that. They are a cult of wokeism. They're a cult of, I'm just going to believe whatever I'm told without any evidence whatsoever. I don't play that game. I want to be convinced with reason, which is a form of evidence, or whatever. I mean, a logical argument doesn't necessarily mean something that's ontologically demonstrated. What it means is, here's a reasoned logical argument. Let's talk about it. Okay, convince me by reason that Matt has changed the position, but they can't even do that. They can't even do that. They can't show me anything. Hey, Stuart, what up, bud? Hey, Chris, the link to join is in the pin there. If you want to pop in and say hi. I don't want to go over what's going to be too much tomorrow. I want it to be a surprise. But I have talked about the fact that, Arden has messaged me, and I'm going to be discussing that because I think it's worthy of discussion. I will be discussing the kerfluffles on the Free Thought blog. I'll be discussing the kerfluffle with Rationality Rules. I'll be discussing the latest kerfluffle with Matt Dillahunty, why he left the ACA. And I'll be opening up the panel for people to kind of weigh in on that. All the kerfuffles, yes. Well, not all. There's only really 3 major kerfuffles I'm going to be discussing. 2 of them are in the past, and 1 of them is current. So I think it's enough. I think that's enough content. And it's so funny too. Another thing is, don't come at me with motive, like saying, "Oh, Steve, you're doing this because this, and this." I will tell you my motives. You can choose to believe me, or you can choose not to believe me. Your choice. But as soon as you tell me what you think my motives are, I guarantee you're probably going to be wrong. Guaranteed, you're probably going to be wrong. Anyways, hey, canceled atheist.
Hey, hello, canceled agnostic. How are you?
I am doing well, my friend. What time is it for you right now?
Oh, it's like 5:45 in the evening.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, no, this is good time for me.
This is prime time for you, man.
So Steve, mate, there is actually evidence that that you're wrong.
Is it what?
There's evidence you're wrong, and I had
how do I remove you?
Yeah. So Steve, apparently you're a meanie poo-poo head.
God damn it.
So therefore you are wrong, and you can never be right. So
the meanie poopy head defense, man, you can't beat that.
Look, it's like checkmate agnostic. Checkmate.
Yeah, Jesus. You should read the comments on that last video, dude. And some people are like, "Oh, you're deleting comments." I'm like, I could read your comment. The only time let me make this very clear for the people that follow my videos. I delete trolls. I delete people that are just spewing evil stuff or nonsense stuff. But I give most people the general benefit.
You don't have any trolls.
Yeah, okay.
None whatsoever.
None.
No. People treat you in a very, very fair and reasonable manner.
Absolutely, they treat me with the respect I've earned over the last 10 years.
Absolutely. So, I mean, all this complaining you do, Steve. I mean, far out.
But that's where they're supposed to be. Persecution versus privilege, right? The person who complains the most is the one that wins.
Well,
right? That's how you play the game, right? Right?
Well, no, I'm amazed anyone's even listening. I mean, you've been cancelled now, so.
Here's the thing, though. I have been canceled multiple times. You know what? I still have never had a single TOS violation. I'm still able to put out what I want to put out, and I have not sacrificed a single principle I've had since day one.
Now, I'll tell you something else that I like that you do, and whenever they go to cancel you, I mean, most people, whenever there's a cancellation mob hits, people grovel, they apologize. You can't apologize to these people. You can't grovel to these people because they're always going to be, they're righteous in their cancellation.
Well, and they also
I agree with that. Can't apologize to them.
And they also use it as a weapon, right?
Absolutely.
I've made that mistake just like anybody else has. I have actually apologized to people, and they still continue on. And it's like, wait a minute, you've accepted my apology. It's a moot point at this point. Don't continue with it. And they continue, and then they weaponize the apology. And I've learned the hard way, just like anybody else. You're exactly right. And so I will only apologize in the most extreme cases, and when I feel like I've actually done something wrong. But I certainly will not apologize merely to apologize to somebody because they feel like they've been slighted. That's a them issue, not a me issue.
Oh, exactly. And hey, trust me, there's plenty of them issues out there.
Oh yeah. Well, we all get offended by something. Look, I took offensively the way, Arden approached me. I think she owes me an apology, but I'm not going to go nuts over it. Right.
And by the same token, if I had Arden on Hereticals tomorrow, not that I've got any intention of doing that, but if I did, you're not going to turn around and say, I can't believe that you would have Arden on.
Wouldn't care less.
After the way Arden spoke to me. How dare you?
Wouldn't care less.
No,
but
exactly.
I would think you would tell me to fuck off and die if I ever told you who you can and cannot have on.
I wouldn't tell you to die, but I'd definitely tell you to fuck off.
Right. You know what? I would not respect you if you didn't. Seriously. Now I could come to you and say, hey, Chris, look, I don't think you should maybe have this person on because they are a evil white supremacist promoting, bigotry and hatred. And I don't know what good it will do by having them on, what will accomplish. And you could say, well, I'm having them on for this, this, and this, and we can talk about it, right? Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
If you were to come to me and say, look, you're having such and such on, and there might be a few issues, hey, making you aware.
Right. Even
Cool.
fine, right?
No problems. Because it could be something I don't know.
If you have an atheist on who eats babies, you might want to be aware of this.
Exactly. It's, so that's fine. But then if I said, well, look, I've made the decision that because like you, I don't mind. So I don't look at it as platforming. I look at it as bringing into the light bad arguments. There's nothing wrong with bringing bad arguments into the light and exposing them for what they are.
Yeah, no, I feel the same. And in most cases, again, that's an individual decision to be had, right? I mean, my decision is when it comes to, like I said, I will not have Holocaust deniers on. I cannot see any reason to ever have them on. That's my limit, right? Personally to me. But I can't impose that upon you. If you had a Holocaust denier on and you want to have a conversation with them on, I know you don't support it.
Oh, see,
right? So I'd be like, okay, do you?
I'd have Holocaust denier on because I'm a historian. I'd make them apart.
That makes sense. Yeah, no. It's funny. That actually makes a lot more sense for you to for me because you would correct them.
There's people I wouldn't have on, and that's choices. I guess I know my limits. I know what I'm comfortable with, and you're the same. You know your limits. You know what you're comfortable with, and you've always got to look at the motive. So if I have someone on. If I had there's Christian apologists I will have on my channel for debates or for arguments or for conversations all the time. Now, I'm not getting them on because I'm hoping to promote Christianity. I'm getting them on because I know the arguments they're going to make, and me being able to have the conversations back with them helps equip people with arguments when they are confronted with the apologetics or things along those lines. Now, if I were to talk to a Holocaust denier, for instance, I would be doing that so I could equip people with the information and the actual skills to, once again, argue against that point.
Exactly what I do for Flat Earth and Young Earth creationism.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Exactly right. And that's the thing. It's, I mean, look, I think, see, I would make individual choices. I would never have Kyle Curtis on my channel as a guest, because of what happened with you. Not that I would ever imagine that would be likely. Now, if Kyle wanted to get on to discuss what happened on the non-sec, I'd probably have him to rip into him over the lies. But even then, I wouldn't have him on as just, hey, it's Kyle's here and let's all have fun together.
Right, exactly. And if you did, I wouldn't even begrudge you. I'd be like, okay, I know you don't support him, therefore I don't care who you have on. But if you had, now I will tell you, if you had Kyle on and you're like, hey Kyle, man, you were absolutely right, and yeah, you stick it to Steve and fuck Steve, and blah, and you know what, I support domestic abuse and blah. I'd be like, Chris, we got to talk. I'd be like, we got a problem here.
Well, I think I was saying that. I think I don't even know if the conversation would happen, but
no, it would obviously. No. But I mean, but the point is that there's different reasons why people have different people on, but it's about context. And I think the woke don't understand context. I think they lose sight of the bigger picture when it comes to contextualization because they're so used to having their way. They're so used to being told that they are right and they have this echo chamber that they don't know how to handle any pushback.
Social media has given everyone the opportunity to exist in a bubble. Now back before social media was a huge thing, you would be forced by virtue of the fact that you weren't going to find a lot of people with the same view as you all the time. You were forced to have conversations with people who might have had a differing opinion. And it wasn't always as a debate. Sometimes it was just a conversation. Sometimes
that's how Gen X went by. That's Gen X.
Yeah, and even millennials. And there's nothing. See, I think that's something that's lost, and now you get all this woke cancellation because you know what, they know that they can cancel someone, and they're going to have 100 people around them who are giving them thumbs up and all that gratification that they get on social media.
Absolutely. Well, and what's so funny is there are actually channels out there, Chris, that will not use my name. They may not be against me, anything like that. They just will not use my name because they know if they use my name, an onslaught of trolls will show up.
Well, it's a bit like Voldemort.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. And that's what they even, like, we can't speak. And somebody might not even think that way. They might think, hey, look, we're not against SM. They'll call me by initials. We're not against him or anything like that, but we just want to, it's not about that. So we don't even want to mention his name because all these sycophants will just come on by, which happens, by the way. And I don't fault him for it. My name has power. I get it.
Hey, I remember when you first started coming on my channel, and I was pretty blunt in my support for you, and they all came at me, but what they pretty quickly realized was I don't give a fuck.
right. And but here's the thing: you have a channel that people want to watch. I mean, we're never going to be super big on YouTube. We both kind of we know our place, right? It's fine, but you know what? We do enjoy what we do. Your show, Six Pack and the Hereticals, even though it's like critically bad time for me, 4:00 in the morning, but it's something that's enjoyable. It's enjoyable to watch. It's enjoyable to come on. You have fun.
I'll tell you now, I don't want to have I don't necessarily want. I mean, okay, it'd be a lie to say I don't want to have a huge channel, but I don't want to have my channel. I don't want to do my channel just for the purpose of having subscribers and having people follow. I want to do the content that interests me and interests the people that come on with me. That's what it's about. I think too many people get into this thinking that they're going to have these big channels and make millions of dollars. I mean, you can have 1 million subscribers and not make a comfortable living on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, even still, there's a people, look at all the people that came up with non sequitur. I mean, Katie has 250,000 subs. Jimmy has a lot of subs. Nate has a lot of subs. A lot of people that I morally just disagree with vehemently. These people I find to be reprehensible people, right? I did not sacrifice my principles, and I don't have 100,000 subs, right? And that's very telling because I didn't toe the party line. I was willing to speak out and say, no, I have a different opinion. And oh my God, you can't obviously do that in these communities, right? Steve, let me tell you what atheism is. Oh, shut up.
You got to remember though, there's a lot of groupthink within the free thought society.
Oh yeah, well, the free thought means basically hive mind.
Yeah. Oh, it does. It does. It's actually. I tell you, and I said this to you earlier privately, but if I were, I'm glad I sort of left religion when I did, because I think if I were to be in the process of leaving religion now, seeing some of the garbage that is out there, that I just don't think I'd leave. I think I'd probably go, you know what? I'm just going to fake it in Christianity because it's got to be better than this crap.
Well, go read the comments on my page. Some of them they're just amazingly bad. I mean, one of them was just like, you didn't prepare for this and you don't know anything about atheism. You don't know anything about Matt Dillahunty. I'm like, oh, shut up. Really? Go read my works. I mean, first of all, don't come at me telling me what you think I know or what I don't know when I've spent a lot of time on these topics, right? I mean, if you're a historian, if somebody went to you and said, hey, Chris, obviously you clearly never looked at anything about history because you don't know what you're talking about. And you say, well, here, I mean, these are my credentials. These are things I've done. Here's my work.
Funnily enough, I had that happen last week.
And if you show them and they say, well, I don't believe you have, any of this. You're like, well, where do you go from there? What do you do?
Oh, you know what? You make the decision. Do I really want to continue with this conversation or do I end it?
That's what I do.
See, that's a good thing. And you know what? It's the beauty of one of the beauties of social media, and maybe this is, maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, because I guess this goes back to the bubble, but you don't have to engage with people.
That's going to be my point.
Last week, I had some people who were, we'll say, trying to educate me about Australian historical issues in a very woke fashion, and just spewing some stuff that was completely wrong. And I mean, this is what I am, an Australian historian. It's what I do. It's what I study. And you try and have the reasoned conversation, and then you don't get the reasoned conversation back. You just get all this crap spewed. And you know what? I thought, I don't need this shit. So I muted. They kept going on with it, and I thought, you know what? Fucking block. Done.
Yeah. Well,
never have to see them or think about them again. It's a wonderful thing.
I would never think to have the balls to even say, Chris, your history on Australia is wrong, except I read The Guardian, and in this article, there you go, you're wrong.
Well, hang on. In all fairness, if you read 2 Guardian articles,
you're an expert.
The Jimmy Snow rule applies, and that trumps everything.
Trumps everything. So either you read The Guardian or you stay at a hotel, Holiday Inn, one or the other. Yeah.
But I mean, there's a classic example. I think Jimmy Snow's a piece of shit. I think he's one of the most horrible people on the internet,
and you don't agree 1,000% of that. Yeah, he's just
that I've ever had the displeasure of dealing with.
Yes.
But if you were to have him on for some reason. Actually, if you were to have him on, I probably wouldn't tell you not to, because it'd be damn entertaining. But for instance, let's say
I would verbally eviscerate him.
Yeah, I would be super chatting like there's no tomorrow in that.
Yeah, I would verbally eviscerate him to the no end, because he is, in my opinion, one of the scummiest people on the internet.
Yeah, he's right up there for me. But I mean, the thing is, okay, we'll say even like, I've got the Six Pack crew, for instance, and there's people who they'll do streams with and have on their channel regularly, or they'll go on that person's channel that I can't stand, who I've blocked, they've blocked me, and really I just want nothing to do with them because I think they're a horrible person. But so what? I'm not going to dictate to people who they can or cannot talk to. It's just like, I've always had an attitude, it's people will not tell me who I can and cannot be friends with. I'm not going to, by the same token, I'm not going to do the same.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what do you think I would say to somebody who says, hey man, I don't think you should be friends with Chris? What do you think I would say to them? I was like, really?
Probably the same thing I said to people who said, I don't think you should be friends with Steve.
And there's other people out there too. It's like, there's other circles that you don't really associate with, that you know nothing about, that I have absolutely no issue with whatsoever, and yet they're vilified. And something like, oh well, Steve, why is Steve talking to this? First of all, I talk to whoever I want, and I think that's the way most people should be. Talk to whoever the hell you want, but of course, talking to somebody and supporting them are not necessarily the same thing. You and I don't have to agree on everything, just to have civil dialogue. And I don't understand why people have this weird notion that even if you talk to somebody, you're somehow supporting them.
Yeah, in fact, you know what? I enjoy the conversations more where I disagree with people, because I think there's a great opportunity there to not necessarily, to possibly have your mind changed, possibly. And I also think there's a great opportunity to understand why other people think what they think. My political views are pretty apparent and out there, but I enjoy having conversations with people who have a differing political opinion, because I think it's interesting to see why people think what they think. I enjoy having conversations with Christians or Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, because I like to know why they think what they think. And not everything has to be a debate with a winner or a loser. Sometimes it can just be two people with a differing opinion or a differing view on a subject, having a conversation. And hopefully if everyone goes away and says, at the very least, well, I don't agree with you, but hey, I understand why you think what you think, and that's fine. I mean, what a great thing that is, to understand why people think what they think. I can sit there and have conversations with a million people who agree with me, and I know why they think what they think, because they've probably come to that conclusion the same way I did. But you don't grow from that. You don't grow from that.
Right.
You and I disagree on plenty of things. But at the end of the day, the things we disagree on aren't really that important, and we're still mates.
Well, here's the thing. I don't know if you remember this. This was a long time ago, but remember that ugly guy from Florida named Red's Rhetoric? Remember that guy?
Oh man, yeah, he's he cracks mirrors everywhere. That guy.
Yeah. So his face is a deadly weapon in like 40 states.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, a lot of people don't know this. When I first met Reds, he was Christian, and it was conversations he had with me and some other people, but it was basically had him change, started thinking about things. Those conversations would not be had if you're not able to dialogue with other people, right? If you just, and so, I mean, for example, my first debate was with Wayne Fillmore, my first online debate ever with Wayne Fillmore, and he was a young creationist. And I had a debate that I studied for 2 weeks for. I prepped the hell out of it. And it was on macroevolution. And I convinced him that macroevolution was something that was true after he looked into it himself. And guess what? He is now no longer a young earth creationist. And he wrote a blog on Biologos about me, how a debate changed his mind. Because my whole goal in the debate was not to cater to the audience. My whole goal in that debate was to show him personally the mistakes he was making. And that was something that meant something to me. And I think a lot of people don't do it for those reasons. They do it for a
lot of it's about ego and personal glory.
Yeah, the entertainment's fine. Nothing wrong with that, but ego. Yeah, ego. And that's not me. I'm not going to debate somebody else something if I don't want to convince them. I just, I don't think that I have a chance to. But anyways, look who's joined us, the Logic Only Zone.
Hello, guys. Hey, I just want to say, first of all, you guys are having a wonderful conversation. I certainly don't want to get in between you guys. And it's an honor to be with you. I can tell first of all, that you guys are very well spoken, and I'll do my best to contribute in any way I can.
No, look, Steve's not that well spoken. Don't worry.
I'm drunk.
No,
I've had 1.5 glasses of wine, man. Holy
you
shit,
guys are very intelligent. I can hear, and that's why I joined. I definitely want to be a part of this, so I'll do my best here.
It's very kind of you to say, but looks can be deceiving.
Yeah, a lot of he goes back a ways, man. Trust me, this guy goes back a long time. I still asking people asking me if I believe in God or not. It's like, really, after all this time, they're still asking me this? Really?
Yeah, getting a little old. I think.
I don't. So do you believe in God?
No.
No, I was asking Steve.
You know what's so funny is not only do I not believe in God, I'm actually moving more toward a harder atheist position. I think over the years.
We're spending too much time with me, mate.
I know, right? I mean, a real atheist, no true atheist thing.
I'm definitely behind here, so I don't know the position of our guest here, but yeah, I'm just gonna listen for a little bit, and then I'll
meet Chris. Chris, meet Logic Only Zone.
Good to meet you. I'm about as atheist as you can come. So my position is that there is no God, and I'll make the claim that there is no God.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah,
I call that a proper atheist. And again, it's tongue in cheek. Okay, so anybody like news or shit. But there was a dear friend of mine who's no longer with us. Her name was Heretic Woman. Really adored her, and she would be out there saying, "Look, gods are BS. Let me explain to you why gods are BS." And she was very, very pro atheism. All right. And so I always refer to her as a proper atheist. And it's just a joke we had because I do hold, obviously, the position that atheism is the belief that God does not exist. And nobody has convinced me otherwise because they've presented no evidence to me. Go figure. But the funniest thing is now Logic Only, they're trying to tell me on my own page that I misrepresented Matt Dillahunty's position and that his new position has changed since 10 years ago. He no longer is convinced there are no gods. Now he's agnostic on the proposition. I'm like, oh, no, he's not. That's just really show me evidence he's agnostic on the proposition.
Yeah, well, first of all, definitely I give credit to somebody who changes their mind or comes across new information. But if they are going to change their position, then they're responsible to put forward what that information is that makes them agnostic. Like people just openly proclaiming, oh, I'm this now, I'm not that. I think that's really fucking fickle, especially in our current context of social media, because Matt Dillahunty, he's a thing, right? Like he has to explain why he moved to this position. It doesn't just happen out of osmosis. So if somebody is not explaining how or why they got to that position, and if we can't look at that, and then if we have to rip it apart, then, that's a whole different story.
That's exactly. They haven't, though. They haven't shown me where he's changed his position at. They've given me no reason to accept the fact he's changed his position to an agnostic point of view. Why? Because
all it would take is a quick video link. Oh, here's where he says something different.
Yeah, well, not necessarily, because he could say, look, I am no longer holding the position there are no gods, and then 5 minutes later saying, oh, I do hold the position there are no gods. There could be a little waffling there, but I've never heard him say that he doesn't hold that position. Never. Not once.
No, that's it. So you're not misrepresenting anything. You're representing the position as best you know it. And if he's changed that, well, show me where. Pretty simple.
Exactly. And we are responsible in a social context to explain where our beliefs come from, because our way of looking at the world has influence over other people, especially when we're on social media. We have people who are following us. So if you change or have a position, it is incumbent upon you to explain where that comes from. And if you don't do that, well, you are rational in being, oh man, this is kind of fishy. There's something off here. That's totally acceptable.
Yeah,
I agree. So like this one person, again, I'm not going to show the comments on the video but go ahead and check it out. The video was, why are so many Matt Dillahunty fans so arrogantly wrong? But this one person, the very first thing he says to me, Chris, and Logic Only, very first thing he says to me, and by the way, he spelled my name wrong, but he says, Matt's fans use logic, and you still haven't a clue what logic is. Really?
Oh dear. That's a rabbit hole.
Starting with the fallacies would be a good way to go.
I'm like, okay, so here's the thing. I'm not even going to get past anything past that at that point. They wrote me a long paragraph of just empty rhetoric. I'm not even interested in anything past that point until that person demonstrates to me that they first understand logic themselves, basic logic, right? So this is what I do when somebody says, well, you don't know logic. Okay, here's my paper that's based on Boolean, predicate, and sentential logic that has been verified by actual logicians, including Dr. Demi, who has a PhD in diatheistic logic, who has found no significant errors with it. And other people have gone through my paper step by freaking step and shown the logic is valid. They need to describe to me what my paper is arguing and show me if there's any logical errors. If they cannot do that, do not tell me I don't have a clue about basic logic. I think that's fair, isn't it? That's fair.
Sure, that's fair. Yeah.
It is. But look, what you got to remember, and this is something that I speak out against all the time, and it's not necessarily Matt's fault or Aaron or any of these, big internet atheists. What happens is people leave religion and they replace their pastor or Jesus with these atheist leaders. So instead of all they do is they just regurgitate the same, basically whatever they're hearing on. Well, I guess it was the atheist experience or wherever Matt ends up now, but they just regurgitate that.
He's on Jimmy Snow's channel. Go figure.
The argument half the time.
Yeah, he's on Jimmy Snow's channel. Go figure, right?
Well,
two massive egos.
It's so weird because like the reason why people are religious is not because they are religious. It is because of a cognitive flaw in taking responsibility for one's own beliefs, ways of thinking, how they feel about things, which is why people use belief as a means to join up with something, which is they feel God, they feel these things, but there's no proof for that. So, so in the absence of religion, if they quit religion, they just end up joining up or being a part of something else. Maybe they're playing Nintendo video games or, they found a new God, basically.
Well,
by the way, Logic,
we're a tribal species.
Logic, come back in real quick because your audio's crackling bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
We're a tribal species, and that's the thing. I mean, I think religion is actually an important part of evolution for humans, and because we're able to exchange stories, we're able to have that one thing, that thing in common. It was that reason for social interaction, that reason for being in the tribe, and that doesn't change just because we think we're a bit smarter now than our ancestors. We still are in our tribes.
I think so. I think, and here's the thing though, I'm not even against some forms of minor tribalism.
No, that's who we are.
Yeah,
we are
tribal. Yeah, exactly. We're tribal in nature.
Without tribalism, we'd be probably in the same position as the gorillas or the chimpanzees right now. Yeah,
and the problem is when tribalism becomes the forefront, where it is defend at all cost, and that's what I see Matt Dillahunty stands doing. They're defending him at all costs, even though they don't even know what his position actually is. This is the same thing with like Jimmy Snow's woke fans. They defend Jimmy at no matter what Jimmy does, how egregious he is. I don't understand how
anyone can defend Jimmy.
I don't know.
Apart from being a giant piece of shit, his arguments aren't good.
He's a shit. He's an idiot when it comes to atheism. He knows nothing.
Basic talking points.
Yeah, he's wrong so many times.
His research on things as 2 Guardian articles. Yeah. And heaven forbid if you disagree with him.
Well, and here's the thing. What's funny is look at somebody like Rationality Rules, who I'll be talking about tomorrow, and Cosmic Skeptic. They went to college. Well, I think both of them went to Oxford, if I'm not mistaken. They learned philosophy, and even they have changed their position on it now, on certain things. And they sound a lot different. Go listen to Rationality Rule talk about these topics, and Cosmic Skeptic talking about these topics, and then we'll listen to Jimmy freaking Snow. It's like he's an idiot.
Oh, Jimmy Snow is an idiot. Complete idiot. And a piece of shit. For anyone who hasn't picked up on it, I'm not a fan of Jimmy Snow.
Yeah, well, I'm not trying to hide it either. Jimmy Snow is, I think, one of the worst people on the planet. But anyways, whatever. What's so funny is I gave him an out, too. He could have been a decent person. He could have been a decent person. I gave him an out, and he didn't take the lifeline. And then for him to absolutely lie, not just to me, but to the non sequitur show audience and his own audience, and then basically rewrite history as it never happened, and then block anybody that ever confronted him on it. Oh, that is just so morally egregious to me.
But that's his MO. That's what he does.
I know.
He's a pathological liar.
I know. That's what I'm thinking too. It's like, wait a minute. How how could he not be a pathological liar when the things he has, even with the Rachel Oates thing, he was not being honest with that when it came to the Gabby Hayes things. His recounting of it and the actual recounting were not the same thing.
Well, I can assure you. I mean, look, my default position is to assume that if someone's got a beef with Jimmy, that Jimmy's probably in the wrong. But when it comes to his credibility versus Rachel Oates' credibility, it's not even a question.
Not even a question. Rachel's always been polite to me. I find her to be entertaining. She's charming. She's intelligent as shit. And she's really good at what she does as far as like reviewing stuff. And I don't know if you remember the whole story about her reviewing Gabby Petito's. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I saw bits and pieces of it. And
yeah,
but that's just another classic example of the woke mob jumping on. And
absolutely was. Logic, your mic working again? Are you back?
Yeah, let me know if it's better.
Oh, much better.
Yeah, I changed headphones. Sincere apologies to the audience and to you guys.
No worries.
You're making us sound good, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Well, you guys sound good anyway. So
weigh on this, logic only zone, because you and me and Chris, I think all the three of us, we really do espouse when we're talking about critical thinking. We want people to be rational.
Yes.
Right. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to have a formal understanding of logic, but it has to be at least somebody who's willing to have reasoned discussions and dialogue.
Here's the problem. Like, if you look at the classic picturate of how Greek philosophers put forward how to convince people to do things, there's pathos, ethos, there's all of these different things.
Right.
And logos. And logos is obviously the best way to convince people to do things. That is right. But unfortunately, ethos is what people function upon. And society doesn't tell people that ethos is not acceptable. You do not make decisions. You do not make determinations. You do not disparage people. You do not burn witches. You do not do things based upon ethos. It always has to be logos. And that's really the problem, is that our society does not put logos first and teach people and tell people that logos is the proper way to go. Logical reasoning, critical thinking, looking at things in an informative way, looking at information. It encourages people to use ethos. It encourages people to be emotional about things. But let's be honest, that if you're looking at things emotional, you're more likely to spend money in ways that you might not otherwise do it. So these are things that critically we need to think about, where logos is put at the forefront and not these other things.
I do agree with you to a certain extent. However, to be fair, there are certain arguments when you would want to use more of pathos and ethos. But again, it really depends on the subject matter.
It's a tool. It's a
tool. It's absolutely, exactly. It's a tool, right? But there are certain subjects you want to, for example, when you're talking about the age of the earth, you need to go by logos, right? Pathos does not, your emotional feelings toward the age of the earth have no relevance to the age of the earth.
Absolutely.
But if you're talking about emotional response toward a very emotionally charged situation, dealing with things like with kids, with death, with rights and abortion and things, and all this kind of stuff, there might be reasons why you would try more of a pathos approach, or even still, if you're at a speaking engagement, you might actually try ethos more. There are tools to be had, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to
logos first, which they should.
Most of the time. Yeah, most of the time.
So I was going to say quickly, I'm going to jump out. It's actually dinner time here, and
go eat. Go stuff your face.
I'll waste away, as you'd know. So it's good to chat with both of you, and good to see everyone out there. And I'll be keeping the ears in and listening. So
I hope you can join us tomorrow, either live or watch.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best. If I do it, it would, like I said to you earlier, it'd probably just be a quick 5 minutes in and out. But I will do my best.
Okay. Sounds good to me, buddy.
Have fun, everyone. Have a great night and morning, afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are.
Anyways, I'm going to be probably ending it soon too. Long story short, I just really want people to recognize, if you're going to come to my page, give me an argument, but don't just sit there and tell me I'm wrong. And don't tell me something based upon what you think. tell me what you think, and then give me reasons why you think that. Because if you tell me Matt Dillahunty is not convinced there's no gods, I'm going to ask you for evidence of that. That's simple as that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and they should, but really it comes down to the fact that people don't put this first, where when you're making an argument, you really have to provide your reasons, and that people's perception or their way that they approach the world is not immediately justified by the fact that they have that. Like, it's very important for us to try to be the best person that we can be, which is trying to look at information, trying to understand things, and, you know, not allow our emotions to supersede our logic or critical thinking. Like, you are responsible for that in the same way that you're responsible for everything else.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people don't want to have those responsibilities, and that's why they get into these discussions that they're ill-equipped for, and they have to resort to more pathos, and they have to resort to even worse. I mean, like I said, pathos is a tool, but they resort to argumentium ad emotions or something. It's like, pity me, you know, or I've been persecuted, I've been this or that. It's all about their feelings, yet they're not even willing to address that other people might have been slighted as well, which I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to get into that tomorrow, because she wanted me to sympathize with her situation, but she didn't give a damn about my situation, even though I tried to explain to her, because I just want to give her kind of a background, but she had no interest in that. And my argument is this: if you're going to want somebody to respect your positions and what you've been through, listen to what other people have been through as well. It's not all about you. And then the last thing she said to me was something to call me basically an egotistical jackass or something. And I'm like, what the hell has happened here? I'll show you tomorrow. Nothing I said was either egotistical nor jackass, but she was just, I don't care about your squabbles. And I'm like, but you're coming to me about your squabble.
Right. Well, here's the thing. Here's a great example, because me and you, Steve, we are very different. We're approaching things from a different place, and in maybe ways that you don't understand. But what's happening right here on the stream right now is cross-disciplinary, because you have specialties in different ways that maybe I don't have, and I have specialties in different ways that maybe you don't. But really what we see here is people struggling with agreeability, trying to listen to other people's perspectives, hear them out, being open-minded enough to try to find the merit in the way that the other is thinking. And so these things need to be worked out, and people need to realize that they can't just be in their own head. They can't just think or believe or behave in the same ways that they always have. They need to really seriously consider what other people are telling them. And we're going to have a better society if we do that.
But they can't.
These are all very important things.
They can't. If you go against their party line, you are automatically labeled a heretic. It doesn't matter. You have to think exactly like them. And here's the worst part: they try to shut down the conversations for other people having it. This is again what we'll be talking about tomorrow, when the whole kerfuffle, the second kerfuffle, happened with the rationality rules things. They wanted to shut down the dialogue. That's where people had the schism. That's when people got upset. It wasn't what rationality rules said specifically, as much as how the pushback from it wanted people to shut up about it and not discuss it. And if you dare do it, you were evil and you were be outcast.
It sounds like fascism. Sounds like fascism.
It's very close to it. I mean, it's certainly a very authoritarian approach.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the thing is, like, look, in your communities, if you are not capable or able to express yourself freely, then there is something egregiously wrong. There is something very wrong if you can't express yourself and then be able to have a conversation with other people about whatever information you're engaging with. That is the red flag.
But why do they expect other people not to have those discussions? Look, again, I have a warning on tomorrow's channel or on tomorrow's show. And one of the disclaimers, I have multiple disclaimers that we talk about. One of it, though, is, look, this channel is for having dialogues and discussions. If you want to recuse yourself from the discussions, that is your right. You have the right to turn off the video and not watch it. You have the right not to participate in the discussions, right? And I might even argue you don't have a right to tell other people what they can and cannot do because it's your freedom of speech to say anything you want, but you can't expect people to listen to you. So
That's
fundamentally,
true.
you have a right to say, look, don't have this person on. Okay, we're talking about in the broadest sense of the term right. Sure, you have the ability to say that. Doesn't mean people are going to have to listen to you.
That's true.
I think morally, I think you're in the wrong, about certain things when you say, hey, look, I don't want you to have this person on, because a lot of people have, said, hey, we can't have Steve McRae on your channel. And people are like, piss off, but I know for a fact there's been a couple of different channels that probably won't have me on because they're afraid of the backlash, even though we agree on things. That's pretty damning for those people that are afraid to have people on merely because of the fear of the backlash. And I don't care any longer. I'll have whoever I want on. However, the person, I will say this, the person she had asked me not to have on, I did decide not to have on, which I'll announce tomorrow and give my reasons, but it wasn't because of her demands. It was because I listened to two other people who happen to be atheists who gave me some articulate reasons why it's probably more beneficial not to have the person on. Right. And that needs to be addressed, because Arnie was like, oh, you're not going to change your mind or anything. I'm like, well, you're not presenting me a reasons to, but let's just have a conversation. She wasn't willing to do it, and that to me is really telling of the woke, the really strong left south social justice warriors, that they're not in it for the dialogue. It is, here's what their position is. If you don't agree, screw you. That's it. There's no middle ground to be had. There's no conversation to be had. And yet when you tell me that I can't change my position, or I won't change my position, when I'm telling you, sure, I'll change my position. Give me reasons. Talk to me. And then you say, well, I don't want to. Okay, then you recuse yourself from the dialogue at that point. So anyways, I'm going to go to bed, I think, man. It's been a lot longer than I expected on this thing, but always a pleasure seeing you, man.
Yeah, man. Sleep tight, man. Get that good old rest.
I got to get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be a hell of a night, because I'm telling you, I don't want it to devolve. I want to have a very civil conversation. And I know I can do it, obviously. And anybody who wants to come on, I want to make sure they will.
If you want help with that, I'm very good with conflict resolution.
Are you going to be available tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. Pacific?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, I could moderate it.
Well, there's nothing really to mod, but if you want to join as a co-host, I'll have you on as a co-host.
Yeah, man, I'll be there.
Sure. All right. How can I send you a link to join? Because I'll have you as a co-host, and then we'll have the panel to talk about this kind of stuff.
We can talk after the show. Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. I'm gonna end this. You guys have a great night tonight. Again, leave me some comments, but again, I really have to tell people, don't come after me sideways. You're probably not going to have a really responsive retort by me, because I just don't waste my time with people that do that. I don't suffer fools well. Give me evidence, give me reasons, give me citations, give me a logical argument, give me something. Don't just say I'm wrong, because you're just not going to convince me I'm wrong on something without evidence. And I've been doing this a long time, and I can tell you right now, any shred of evidence you think you have, I have 10 times the amount showing you that you're probably wrong. Okay. I have loads of evidence. So with that, guys, good night. Good night, Stuart. Good night, Trent. Good night, Pipe. San Juan. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Kyle did a lot of shady stuff. But all right, I'm gonna end this. Good night, guys. See you tomorrow at the Non Sequitur Show. Go ahead and set the notification right now on the Non Sequitur Show. Go over there, set the notify me, and prepare for an interesting show tomorrow. That's to say the least. Good night.